Welcome to Tech Titans on Tech Pression TV. I'm Ibu Kumbankole. On Tech Titans, we x-ray the lives of tech luminaries, their visionaries, and people who have left their imprints in the sands of time and have shaped how Africa's technology is expanding. And of course, today, my guest is someone who has left his marks in the sands of time in ICT, fintech, and also human resources. I'm talking of Mr. James Olorun-Oshebi, who is the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Joan Cross Infosystems Limited. Thank you very much, sir, for being here with us.
Thank you, Ibuko. Thank you.
All right. I mean, you've had almost 2 decades in the ICT space.
Yes, that's correct.
How was the journey for you 2 decades ago? I mean, IT or technology in general in Africa was just gradually gaining ground. How were you able to, start off in such a green sector at the time?
Well, as at the time I started, I wouldn't say it was just gaining ground in Nigeria or even in Africa as a whole. It actually had gained quite a lot of ground. There were already established organizations who were doing quite a lot in the information communication technology space. However, the technology was not as sophisticated as we witness it today. A lot of corporate organizations who had been operating in Nigeria in oil and gas and finance. Remember how banks have been around for a very long time. Remember also that oil and gas firms have been operating for a long time. These organizations were running technology solutions in network infrastructure, in software, and other things that made their work and their employees to be productive. And so IT was already established. So there was always the end user computing part of things. When we say end user computing, we're talking about laptops, we're talking about printers, we're talking about things that your employees would use to get work done. So it's called end user computing. Then there was the network infrastructure that end user computing devices connect to, which in turn connected to bigger global networks, right? And now for most organizations, they would typically have a data center. A data center is a server room where all of your most powerful servers reside, whether servers that you're using to do accounting, the one you're using to do database management, the one you're using to do your core banking operations or any other kind of engineering operation that you were doing. There were also systems for customer relationship management. There were systems for all kinds of things. So these were already pretty much established and already existing. But the learning curve to become good at them was a bit very lengthy. And so if you said you wanted to jump into IT, you have to be very passionate, you have to be determined, and you must be ready to go through all of that very long learning curve. Yes. Yes, so that's what it was for me.
All right. I mean, it just shows that there was a lot of hard work to put in place compared to the plug and play that we see in 2024.
Exactly. That's the term. Yes, plug and play.
Plug and play.
It wasn't a thing then.
Okay, so how difficult? Because I mean, it's one thing to know that, it was quite hard. I mean, there were processes to go through. What exactly did it take from you? And now the reason why I'm asking this question is because of the mindset of what they call the microwave generation, where I mean, with the plug and play in place now, I mean, what did it take from you? How much hard work, what tactics did you have to employ or deploy to be able to achieve that and learn a whole lot? Because you're vast in several, would I say, disciplines within even the ICT space.
Okay, so what happened back then was that there were not many organizations who were delivering training for people to be able to get on board. Now we have a proliferation of many training organizations. You can go online, you can have virtual classes, you can do self-paced study. In fact, it was very challenging back then for a number of reasons. Then there was no cloud solution. There was no cloud platform. There was no cloud infrastructure. So if you wanted to learn a particular technology, you needed to do the setup yourself. And now those equipments are not affordable. So you have to buy servers, you have to buy network switches, you have to buy routers. Internet was not the fastest thing then. So it wasn't like it was everywhere. So you could not get internet to yourself, except maybe you had a dial-up modem of some sort. Now, for a learner who comes from a very well-to-do family, that was not an issue. You can easily access funds to do that. But for the average person, average human being who was struggling to feed, who now wants to say, hey, I need to evolve myself and take my life to the next level. And then you have started this course, and then now you need to buy servers, you need to buy a laptop, you need to buy switches, you need to buy routers, you need to buy some middleware application of some sort. It was a challenge, very big challenge. And so, but now, you can do that course pretty much everywhere. You can subscribe to a service. Some of them are even providing it for free. Virtualization was not even a thing then. Virtualization is the ability to take a physical hardware and make what you call a virtual. Virtual is like saying the spirit. It's like, I'm looking for the most accurate word to use. Technically, I know what to say, but I'm looking for a word for the layman to understand. Okay, good example. If you wanted to network 5 computers, then you needed 5 computers, 5 physical computers, and a physical device in between to use to network them. You needed 5 cables to use to connect them to the switch. But now, if you wanted to network 5 computers, you simply open one single laptop, and then there are virtual computers in that one single laptop, and there's a virtual switch, and there are virtual cables that you just click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, and you have done your networking. And they would function perfectly as if they were physical devices, thereby helping that student to deepen his or her knowledge in that technology. Back then, what is obtainable today was not obtainable then. So it was a challenge. So if your faculty or your lecturer, there were about 2 institutions in Nigeria who actually specialized in training. Back then, there was NIIT, there was APTEC. And then, so if your faculty says, we're setting up a lab, this class next weekend is a lab around doing this, you better not miss it. Because if you miss it, you're not going to have another opportunity to see how that demonstration works.
I mean, it's really interesting because now that you say, if you miss that physical class, it is done. I mean, that's gone. You have to wait for another physical class. But now, I mean, everything is online. You just record it and then plug and play again.
Yes, plug and play again.
It's really easy how things have changed. But now, you moved from core IT solutions to fintech.
Yes.
And then to human resource technology. How did that happen? What was on your mind that made you think, okay, so let me maybe apply my technology skills in the finance sector,
yes,
and then HR sector?
Yes. So I want to use an analogy to describe what that is like. It's like coming into any big office premises. So as you come in, they make you sit at the reception, and the reception is looking wonderful, like your reception here is looking wonderful. And then when you come in, exactly, and you are like, oh, this is a nice place, but there are more fantastic things the further into the building that you go. So IT is like that. So for most people, the first thing they know about IT is what you call desktop computing, or what some people would also call end user computing, really. But it was called desktop computing. So you learned how to use Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and a few other applications. And then from there, you now move to learning how to, it was called computer appreciation, learning how to appreciate the keyboard, what is the CPU, it was called CPU, and then what was the monitor, and then you learn how to position your fingers and say ASDF, column LKJ, and then you were also taught to use software like Mavis Beacon teaches typing, that used to practice how to type in the form of, with the penguins. There was a whole lot of gamification. Gamification is when you make people learn by playing games. So it deepens their experience. So after that, then later you discover that your computer breaks down. You're like, so what do I do when the computer breaks down? Then you take it to a place, maybe someone describes to you, oh, there's a repair center somewhere. You take it to the repair center. On getting to the repair center, then you see young people like yourself holding screwdrivers and some other tools, and they're loosening this laptop, and you're wondering, wait a minute, these are people in my age. I've never seen this before. So it is possible. So there are people that know how to repair this, and they're in my age range. What have I been doing with my life? And then I start asking them questions and realize that some of them are interning, learning. Some of them are a bit more experienced. And then I observed them and I realized, oh, so apart from using software, there's also repairs. And from observing them long enough, I started doing those repairs myself. That's the beautiful thing about IT. It gets to that point where if you observe long enough, it will rub off on you. And it will no longer be, even if you go to a bank today and you observe the bank staff long enough, you will know one or two things about banking after a while. And you can pretty much even stand in for that person that you have observed to function in their role. So it was the same thing. And then after doing the hardware for a while, I now realized that beyond typing office applications and all of these things, there are more powerful applications than those. We started talking about databases, started talking about applications for customer relationship management, started talking about applications for financial transactions, started talking about applications for electronic document management systems. We started talking about applications for engineering. We started talking about AutoCAD applications. And then now started realizing there are even video editing applications and all of that. Applications for modeling people, equipment, 3D applications. And having discovered that this world now existed, then that curiosity arose in me that I need to know how to do this, because this might actually be the next stage for me. And then before you know it, from typing office applications to repairing systems to understanding even more powerful applications, they're now realizing that there are servers, there are networks. Then as time went in the industry today, start realizing that you can still take a bit of this and this and that and create new applications, like the way you would have HR tech, like the way you would have fintech, like we have today, and all of that. So those are the things, that's the discovery journey. And beyond that, there's still going to be more of this that other people will craft for the rest of the world to be able to enjoy.
That's pretty interesting. Now, HR tech, I mean, a lot of people know about fintech. We know of the digital banking space. But HR tech, I'm sure it's going to be new for a lot of people. So what exactly is the HR tech about? Is it automating human resource processes? What exactly? Because some people might already be doing it or might have interest and may not even know that it already exists.
Okay, so for HR tech, so typically in IT, you can take a certain profession and put tech in front of it, and then that will become that tech. For example, you can say film tech. So film tech can be where we make shooting films and doing studio works easy, and then you call that film tech. So HR tech actually came to be in the same way. So you take the human resource practice and say, because as a solution provider or as an innovator or as someone who wants to bring a solution that makes the industry to expand and people's life to become easy, you have to look at the needs. What are people's pain points? What are the different sectors of the industry that make an economy? What are they going through? What are their challenges? How do we reduce those challenges? How do we make their life easier? How do we make them better? How do we do it that they don't have to go through repetitive tasks? And that is how the prefix and the tech came about. So for HR tech, you look at the human resource practice, and then we said, for this human resource practice, what are the pillars of human resource management? Then having looked at those pillars, an HR person needs to be able to have a system for storing all the information about their staff. Previously, they would keep them in files and folders, but that was not sustainable. Those were susceptible to damage, to theft, to a whole number of degradation could happen. So how about if we make that a digital copy so that it is retained and stored for life, or at least retained and stored for the duration that legislation says such information should be stored. And so that's HR, but that aspect of HR is HR information system. Then there are now other things that HR professionals do that is not just storing information, but activity, collecting feedback, monitoring employee performance, keeping track of attendance, running payroll, making sure that even when payroll is run, statutory remittances to regulatory organizations are paid, such as the Internal Revenue Service, the pension fund administrators, and the rest of them. So how do we do that? Now, typically, an HR professional would have to do some moving around. So, but how can you cut down on that moving around? Can they do it with a click of a button, remit to IRS, remit to pension fund administrator without having to move to the bank? Even the banks don't want you in their banking hall anymore. And so that is how HR tech came about, to ensure that you automate all of the entire HR practices for HR professionals to have a better life, for you to have better engagement with your employees, and for the overall health of the organization that they work for them to be able to make better strides.
Okay, so I mean, we've said a whole lot of serious conversations around what you do, but I'm sure that people want to know, beyond just your very busy lifestyle. I mean, handling multiple projects, having several businesses running them.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is a typical day like for you if you're not having to, monitor your staff and, do regular nine to five or 24
Okay.
hour management work?
Yeah. So a typical day for me, based on my personality type, I'm the kind of person that likes to work and have fun. And I'm the kind of person that is also addicted to work. And so because I'm addicted to work, I also am careful to make sure that when I work on a given day, I don't stress myself out to the point where I can collapse. So I have to be working and having fun. So a typical day for me starts with checking if there are any emergencies. Now, first thing as I wake up, do I have any emergencies from anyone that I may have missed? So I check my conversations, I check my email, I check all of these important things. And then the next thing is meetings that are scheduled for in the morning, because you have teams who work with a different combination of work methods. We have fully remote teams who don't resume to the office. We have hybrid staff members who do a mix of coming to work and working from home. And then you have those who resume to work full time. And so the first set of people that we handle or interact with are those who do hybrid and those who do remote. First thing, stand-up meetings in the morning. Now, if you're not doing these stand-up meetings with them, they can pretty much lose focus of what they're supposed to achieve that day. In between that, in the course of those stand-up meetings, we play interesting music videos to spur their spirits, to get them motivated for the day. And then apart from that, in the course of the day as well, there are also physical meetings. Those physical meetings will make it as lively as possible to make sure that people are not coming to those meetings feeling afraid or trepidation, even if they have not done what they are supposed to have done. Because apart from shouting at people, there are other mechanisms that exist in place that make productivity guaranteed. And everyone knows what those mechanisms are. And those mechanisms are not, they don't look at your faces to say, oh, I like you, so I'll just let you pass on this one. Those mechanisms are not emotional. So nobody wants to fall short of those mechanisms. Yeah. So even in meetings, even though we are smiling at each other and we are laughing, we can totally have that. But everyone is having those mechanisms in their mind. Then when it comes to fun, apart from music, watching animations, I also do a lot of watching of science stuff, astrophysics, things about outer space, all of those science things. That's what my typical day revolves around, between work and fun and work and fun.
I mean, it's really even your phone seems like it's serious stuff, because astrophysics and
oh yes, it's serious stuff.
How is astro? Some people will say they're Netflixing and chilling and but I mean yours is still, your phone is still pretty.
It's pretty much work like. Sometimes I don't even. I sometimes I feel like 24 hours in the day is not enough, and wish there can be more hours in the day, because sometimes you find 2 o'clock you are still awake. Not because you do not desire to sleep, but because there's still something tugging at your heart that you still want to touch. And it can be pretty much anything in whether with the general IT aspect of our operations, or whether with the human resource aspect of our operations, or whether with the fintech applications that we are building and all of those things. So we have to give attention to them because many of them are time bound.
Okay, so speaking of giving attention to several expressions that you manage, how, as a person who has the HR mindset, how do you manage, business development or innovation as the head, as a leader, as a chief executive officer, as a managing director? How are you able to focus on strategy and just take your mind off HR? Because I have observed that some people who have that human resource or personnel management background always find a way of maybe micromanaging, of having to go back and do the operational runnings instead of focusing on expanding the business. Because now, hold on. So the reason I'm asking this question is because we see a lot, because of what technology has done, we see a lot of Gen Zs and millennials holding management positions early on. And because they don't, they've not grown through the ranks as, was expected in the past, it's sometimes difficult for them to manage, having to do business strategy and also having to manage the operational runnings of the organization, especially if a business is just starting out. So
Mm.
that's, that's the idea, so that it can help someone who is a management professional at this point, managing businesses and also having to do the operational work on the side.
Mm. Okay, so I'll start out by saying that people need to know what is really important to them. The moment you know what is important to you and the end goal you are trying to achieve, and that end goal you are trying to achieve is your vision. You're saying, in the next 10 years, I want to make sure that this aspect of my business becomes a commercial bank. And what is the journey to achieving commercial bank status that time? And you already know the requirements. So you're building towards that requirement. Then you now ask yourself, okay, so I have my people who are also doing this aspect of the business that is really important to us in HR. What is the end goal of our HR business? And the end goal is that we want a technological solution that is the number one in the industry, competing with any other international product out there, to ensure that the life of HR professionals are made easy. That's the end goal for that. Then you look at our general IT business operation and you say, what's the end goal for this? We want to remain relevant as IT service providers. And this particular aspect of our business, the general IT, must continue to service, in terms of human resource and technology, service the HR and service the financial services, fintech products that we have. So with this end goal in mind, you have to now break down that these are the activity sets I need to do on a daily basis to achieve that end goal. All right. So your vision, then you now have your mission. So your mission is what you are doing every day to get to the end result, which is your vision. And now, for that mission statement that you have, what you're going to be doing every day, you now have what you call tracker, and what we call appraisal as well. You have what you call activity sets. Those activity sets, in a given day, you don't have enough time to do that, to do all of them. But because there's a saying, I think it's called Murphy's Law, that work expands to fill the available time it sees. So yes, that's Murphy's Law. It expands to fill the available time that it sees. So if this particular work, you don't define a time frame for it, it will fill all of that time. But if you say this work is going to be achieved in 30 minutes, you complete it in 30 minutes. And so by apportioning this little time to this aspect of the business, this aspect of the business, we find ourselves able to achieve all that we need to achieve for that day. But something will be tugging at you. It's not yet finished. It's not yet finished. You must also remember another principle, that you cannot finish it all today. If you stress yourself too much to try to finish it all today, you will burn out and you'll be useless tomorrow. And so you still not be able to complete it, because work never stops. It never finishes. Even when you are sleeping, work continues, because you'll be dreaming of your work. Some aspect of your work, some of the things that you have done in the day, your synapses will start reattaching those pieces as it's filing those activities together. So you are basically still working even while you are sleeping, but your physical body is resting. So that's on the one side. Now, for those who want to do this, because it is really important to them that they achieve this end goal, they will find themselves having that natural energy, drive, what some people call drive or motivation, to want to continue to do that work every day and get to that conclusion. But challenges are inevitable. You're going to run into situations where you want to throw in the towel and give up completely. But you must also remind yourself why you are doing this. And the truth about why we are doing this is that we don't want to be poor. We want to be able to have enough finances to be able to meet our needs and meet the needs of others. And so we know that if we are not doing this work, then these other things, people that we love, people that we care about, movements that we care about, other side hobbies that we care about will suffer. And so you don't have a choice. You have to keep that vision, mission, and all of those things in front of you and be chasing it on a daily basis. If you run into challenges where you think you are losing the favor that you are not having the fire that you should have, that is where it is now important to make sure that, like in a football team, surround yourself with people that can help you drive your vision. Have someone that has your back, who is your goalkeeper. The goalkeepers they might not even be a member of your team. It might be a friend. It might be an uncle. It might be a mentor. Goalkeeper is there to ensure that you don't fail, that life, whatever you do in business, does not score a goal against you, that you don't incur debts, that you don't incur losses, that you don't give up, that you don't make bad decisions. That's what the goalkeeper persons are in your life. Then I have your defenders. Your defenders can be your staff members, can be friends who are also watching out for you. Then have your strikers. Those are the people that are going out there to ensure in business development, to ensure that in customer relationship, to ensure that every other aspect of your business are running. The supervisors, the managers, the directors, and all of that. They now have those that are on the extra seat that are waiting to step in case any of these people burns out. They are tired, they need to go on vacation. So you have to constantly be having that mindset of who are the people that play these roles in my life? Are they my staff? Are they my friends? Are they my associates? Attending the necessary international conferences and webinars. These things, that makes your life look like a football match. And you are the coach, or you are the, what do you call the people that own the leagues? You know, I'm not a football person.
like the investors, those that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
It's been a great one, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
For giving us a lot to chew on and a lot to digest. It's been a great time having here Mr. James Olorun-Shebi
Thank
as our
you.
guest, and I believe that if we call upon you for another time.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I'll be glad to be present.
All right, yes. Thank you again. Thank you also for joining us on Tech Titans. My name is Ibu Kumbankole. Join us again for another interesting edition. Bye.